Every day, this dog peered into a storm drain. When it was finally opened, people were stunned by what they found inside. Stray dogs are a common sight in many countries, but this particular dog captured everyone's attention with his curious behavior. In Turkey, a scruffy and dirty stray pup roamed the streets. It was a daily routine for him as he scavenged for any food or water he could find. The day began like any other, with the dog happily trotting down the road, wagging his tail at anyone who glanced his way. Despite his rough life on the streets, this dog was incredibly friendly and loved getting pets from passersby. As he walked down one street, the dog caught a whiff of something delicious. Following his nose, he ended up in front of a butcher's shop. Peering through the window, he watched as customers bought large cuts of meat. The sight of the food made his stomach growl loudly. Inside the shop, a young woman named Annie was finishing up her purchase of a couple of steaks. She thanked the butcher and stepped outside. As she walked down the street towards home, she heard a loud gurgle and a whimper. Turning around, she saw the stray dog looking at her with sad eyes. Annie quickly realized the dog was starving. Feeling a pang of sympathy, she looked at the steaks she had just bought and decided to help. She went back into the butcher shop and asked for any scraps or bones he couldn't sell. The butcher gladly handed her some cutoffs, and Annie returned to find the dog watching her from a distance. She crouched down and held out a bone. At first, the dog was cautious, but the smell of food was too tempting. Slowly, he approached and finally accepted the bone, wagging his tail in gratitude. But instead of eating it on the spot, he picked it up and trotted away as if on a mission. Curious but not wanting to intrude, Annie headed home. The next day, she saw the same dog again. Recognizing her, the dog bounded up, tail wagging. Annie smiled at his enthusiasm and gave him some sausages from a nearby shop. Yet again, the dog took the food and walked off without eating it. Annie wondered what he was up to, but was too busy to follow. On the third day, Annie saw the dog waiting for her. She had started carrying treats in her bag, hoping to feed him whenever they crossed paths. She smiled as she approached and gave him some treats. This time, when the dog turned and walked away, Annie decided to follow. The dog led her to a busy street and stopped by a storm drain. He dropped one of the treats into the drain before eating his share. Annie was baffled. What could possibly be in the drain? For the next few days, she found the dog sitting by the storm drain. Each time she brought treats, he would drop half into the drain before eating his share. Finally, Annie's curiosity got the better of her. She decided to investigate. Annie approached the storm drain cautiously. The dog watched her, but didn't interfere. When she looked down into the drain, she gasped. Grabbing her phone, she called the fire department, knowing she needed their help. About half an hour later, firefighters arrived. Annie explained what she had seen, and they quickly got to work. As they approached the drain, the dog growled protectively. The firefighters hesitated, unsure of what to do. Annie reassured the dog, holding out a treat. Once he calmed down, she held him back while the firefighters opened the drain. A crowd gathered as the firefighters worked. After a few tense minutes, they revealed what the dog had been so focused on. In one firefighter's arms was a tiny kitten. The crowd gasped in surprise, but that wasn't all. The firefighter went back into the drain 4 more times, each time bringing up another kitten. Annie was astonished. She had seen something down there, but had no idea 5 kittens were trapped. The dog wriggled free from Annie's grasp and ran to the firefighter holding the kittens, wagging his tail and sniffing them. The kittens mewed back at him. Annie asked the firefighters how such young kittens ended up in the drain. They guessed the kittens were swept in during a heavy rainstorm, but noted they weren't starving. Annie realized it was thanks to the dog sharing his food every day that the kittens had survived. Moved by the dog's selflessness, Annie knew what she had to do. She told the firefighters she would take the kittens home and care for them until they could be adopted. They agreed and handed her the kittens. As she headed home, she called out to the dog, "Come on, Benny, it's time to go home." The dog happily followed her. Annie found loving homes for 4 of the kittens when they were old enough and kept one for herself. Benny, the heroic dog, finally had a home too. Annie couldn't bear to leave him on the streets after his act of kindness. The new family lived happily together, with neither Fudge the cat nor Benny worried about being homeless again. Annie loved them dearly, and they loved her just as much in return. If this video brought a smile to your face, please leave your thoughts in the comments section and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this.